Governor, polls show you falling behind Trump. Any thoughts on that?
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
I can't get over the face he makes there. It's so disconcerting. But it's been a month, and now it's starting to look like we're going to see his announcement coming up. We've seen him ramp up his momentum towards an official announcement. And apparently it could be as soon as next week, according to reporting from CBS. From that reporting, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to make his entry into the 2024 presidential campaign official next week. 3 people familiar with the planning tell CBS News. His plans to file papers with the FEC formalizing his presidential candidacy is timed to coincide with the Miami gathering of some of the governor's most generous longtime donors, who are expected to receive briefings on campaign strategy and request to help raise significant sums of cash for his bid. 3 people familiar with the plan said. However, the DeSantis fans, who I'm sure are not watching this show unless they're hate watching it, might have to wait a couple more days because according to CBS, a more formal kickoff event is expected to be held closer to June 1st. According to those familiar with his plans, it is likely to occur in DeSantis' hometown of Dunedin, Florida. Sources familiar with the plans said. Now, DeSantis has been on a wild run of passing repressive and oppressive legislation in the state of Florida. We've seen it ramp up, particularly in the past year. He's been targeting education in the state, particularly educating on Black history and targeting the LGBTQIA+ community with a slate of bills such as the Don't Say Gay bill. As he preps for that official announcement, let us remind you that DeSantis is utilizing his GOP support in Florida to make his 2024 run a lot easier. Let's pull up this headline from The Guardian. Quote, impossible to hold him accountable. DeSantis signs laws to ease 2024 run. Measures would let him campaign while serving as Florida governor and shield travel records from the public. But as we've mentioned on Unbossed before, DeSantis has to get through the orange and red wall that is Donald Trump. According to New York Magazine and the Real Clear Politics polling averages, Trump now leads DeSantis by 36.1%, 56% to 19.9%. His biggest margin over his rival since the 2022 midterms made RDS a Republican megastar. So there is a world between the amount of support that Trump has and DeSantis has. Of course, we have no idea what might happen as the primaries start to ramp up. I have a strong feeling that Trump is not going to get beat by DeSantis, which honestly gives me a little bit of relief. Of course, I hate both of them and wouldn't want to see either of them anywhere near the Oval Office. But I think, in my opinion, DeSantis is a more unhinged threat to the American people. Dan, I'd be interested in what you were thinking of as this Republican primary starts to heat up.
I waffle back and forth on who's worse between Trump and Ron DeSantis, but really fast while we have the split screen up, Duke6X on Twitch is saying Ron DeSantis is bobblehead ass. We're just not getting enough of the yeah. It's just so unhinged. There's that, there's pudding fingers, definitely all of the political heads who will be, are the only people who are paying attention at this point in the game, are getting a little bit of unhinged joy a little bit from Ron DeSantis here. But I've kind of said it, I'm not the only one. There's some other folks on Twitter, Emma Viglin's been saying this a lot, but yeah, Ron DeSantis just doesn't have the juice. You can't look at polling right now. I don't think it would be such a blowout of Donald Trump having a 20-30 point advantage if you were to have a Republican primary. I mean, when you start having the caucuses and primaries this time next year. But I don't think Ron DeSantis, even though he's made a lot of spin in Florida, even though he's been able to bend previous rules that were made specifically for Florida governors trying to become president to prevent them from doing that and politicking while they should be governing their state. Ron DeSantis is a total holdover that. And so I think it's good in the media for people who are paying attention, but for people who are in Florida, who aren't super into this political system, who aren't falling for this groomer panic, this anti-Black, anti-POC, anti-trans panic, it's going to be turning a lot of people off. And there's room within the Republican faction. There's definitely some splitting between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis on anyone but Trump candidate. But ultimately, this is going to be an election about, okay, do we want Trump again, or are we going to be okay with the Democratic Party as is? And it's shaping up to be that kind of election again. DeSantis doesn't fit anywhere in that picture. Although, yeah, I think he is more dangerous in that he gets results, but he's less dangerous than Trump because Trump is just better at this politics thing, unfortunately, and better for better or worse. So we'll see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think DeSantis has really shown that he lacks political instincts. I mean, just the ability he has to embarrass himself. Bobbleheadness aside, the fact that he was declaring Meatball Ron as a racist nickname instead of just taking it in stride. Trump was gonna come up with something. Ron DeSanctimonious didn't stick. You should have just been prepared. Those giant galoshes he wore. I mean, this man is really he's good at embarrassing himself in public. But I mean, there's also of course, the concerning fascistic laws coming out of the state. The reports about his torture of prisoners in Guantanamo Bay, the way that he very brutally tried to end a hunger strike and the torture that he did against those prisoners, and apparently the enjoyment that he got from doing it. So the more I learned about him, the more of a threat I think he is, although I don't think he's much of a threat when it comes to facing Donald Trump. I just think that there's no way that you can effectively position yourself as a Republican candidate who has to criticize Donald Trump, because then you're losing a massive base of support. If you were able to, run alongside him as he did when he was running to be governor, that's different. You don't have to criticize that base. You want to play to that base. You want to call Trump on the phone sobbing about how much you want his endorsement, apparently. So I really do think that this is not going to end the way that he wants it to, but I also think that he's still building up his profile within the Republican Party, and that does scare me because this is someone who's proven that he can be effective.
Yeah, I really fast you tied in the serious points about Ron DeSantis, like the more, okay, here's what he is on policy, which are things people on the left won't like, but there are also things that, the whole, that photo that he has where he's supposedly a teacher that Donald Trump keeps touting around, that looks kind of bad. The Guantanamo thing, that looks kind of bad. But I was kind of talking a lot about aesthetics because I already know I don't like Ron DeSantis on these issues or on the things in his past, but the aesthetics matter because it's about when you're in the public presence, it's how is he reacting to these things. Mm-hmm. And in this trial run, all he can do is like, oh, I'm just gonna laugh it off. Oh, no one cares about that. Oh, Donald Trump's making me mad, maybe I'll sue him, ha ha ha. But he doesn't really have a good response to criticism, which is like, point number one, like it's what they teach you in like, oh, so you want to run for president. You might want to have to learn to get a thick skin and be able to deflect some of these things and go on offense. That's something that DeSantis can't do. And yeah, I think if he built his time a little bit more and bided his time, which is harder to do when there's no presumptive nominee other than Trump. It looks like it's his moment, right? But maybe he'd have more chance in 2028, but he's just such a half-baked candidate right now that I really agree with you on that point. He's just not, even if he's building kind of a campaign right now, I think having this L that he's about to earn so voraciously in this presumptive presidential race that he's gonna try to put up, this L is not gonna look good on his record in 2028 when he does try to do his real effort again. Mm-hmm. And he could just go without all the effort. But what am I doing giving Ron DeSantis free political advice? Because we all know he watches Unbossed.
He's a subscribed member, yeah. But we'll keep all of you updated on Ron Guantanamo Bay versus Trump and the developments in this